Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We had several people in here this week who said that women are oppressed in Islam. Some even went as far as blaming the Qur'an for practices that are not in it, nor encouraged by it by any means. I decided to share what I know. Inshallah, this will be a good experience for Muslims as well as non-Muslims. We will talk about women in the home and women in society. Let's start by women in the home. Qur'an talked about women and their rights in many places. Chapters like the women, Mary, and the pleading one, as well as others. Also chapters 2 and 7, where you can find the story of Adam and Eve. The story of Adam and Eve places equal blame on both of them for their mistake. Nowhere in Qur'an can one find even the slightest hint that Eve tempted Adam to eat from the tree, or that she had eaten before him. They were both tempted, they both asked God for forgiveness, and God told them both that whosoever follows my guidance, on them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. This is a promise of happiness, doesn't at all suggest wrath. Qur'an also says that Eve was created for Adam so that he may find tranquility in her, and so are the other women to their husbands. Women's religious responsibility. Qur'an shows that the religious responsibility of women is equal to that of men. Women are responsible for their own actions. They are allies and supporters to men in enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil, as well as doing the prayers, giving the alms, and obeying Allah and His Messenger. Women's reward. They get equal reward for equal deeds. Forgiveness, great reward, heaven, not the least bit of injustice, a good life. Historical women are mentioned several times in Qur'an. We have the mention of righteous women who set good examples to follow, as well as women who were on the other end of the rainbow. It's noteworthy that the righteous women mentioned in Qur'an outnumber the ones who are not righteous. Even though I excluded the verses that talk about the wives of the Prophet and the chapter about the pleading woman, we still have more than twice as many righteous women as the unrighteous. I'll mention some of these women as we go. Now let's talk about females as daughters. Qur'an defends the rights of newborn girls whose families have feelings of shame for having a daughter instead of a son. These are the actions of Jahiliyyah, time of ignorance, but they still happen today, and the daughter might get killed at birth in some countries. God says that He would give as a gift to whomever He wants daughters or sons. Daughters are gifts from God. Qur'an also gives a warning to people who kill their children, and a more specific warning to those who kill their daughters. Now, female as orphans. Qur'an encourages people to take care of them, to look after them, and give them hold of their properties fully when they reach the age in which they can take care of themselves. Also encourages people to help them with money and the best of food. Let's move on to females as wives. Qur'an talks about Asya. Although she had the Pharaoh for a husband, she was kind-hearted and she turned to God with prayer. Qur'an gives wives their rights, such as the right to a wedding gift that becomes only hers, even if the husband wants a divorce. Also the right to keep all her money and property unless she wants to help, and the right to be treated kindly, and the right to choose her husband, and not to be considered part of the properties of the husband herself. The right to get financial support from her husband, and the right to obtain divorce from her husband. She can divorce him or get a divorce, and either way he doesn't get alimony. One of the most controversial topics is the wife beating issue. Let me first explain the meaning of qawama, which includes maintenance and protection. The man is in charge of the woman. The woman elected him, like a president. No one feels oppressed for having a president. And the husband can't become a dictator because he sure wants to be of those whose affair is a matter of consultation. Now, let's concentrate on this beating thing, then we'll step back and have a look at the bigger picture, which is actually a consideration for the wife. Qur'an restricts the beating to one time and with something that can't cause any harm. The story of Ayub, peace be upon him, who made an oath to beat his wife 100 strikes. God corrected him without having him break his oath. God said, take a handful of grass and beat her with it just once. It's just a symbolic thing. Now the bigger picture. Let's compare the two situations. The one where nushooz comes from the woman, and the situation where nushooz or i'rad come from the man. When the problem is because of the woman, there are 4 options. You go from the one option to the next. The first is to talk to her. She's an intelligent being and she cares about her marriage and family. When the woman wants to talk to her guy, she just says, we need to talk, you know. If she doesn't want to sit and talk and try to solve the issue at hand, then the second option is to talk to her emotions. Leave her in bed. If she still doesn't care about fixing her marriage, then the third option is the symbolic beating that we talked about earlier. It's more of a restriction of the beating, so men wouldn't abuse the wife physically. And this is not for women who are really sincere about saving the marriage. If still nothing works, time for an intervention. Get someone from her family and someone from his family, like a mini court. With the first 3 options, you can clearly see that the issue is still between her and her husband, which makes it more likely for the marriage or the family issue to be solved. Even when the 4th option is the only solution left, the issue is within the family, no real court, also more likely for the marriage to be saved. Now, what about the situation in which the problem is with the husband? Qur'an jumps directly to seeking a solution that both parties agree upon. This is how urgent the situation is. The woman might be in danger. A warning is given to the husband not to oppress the wife, especially in case of having another wife. And then the second option is that they can go their separate ways. When the wife is the problem, there are 4 options, but when the husband is the problem, there's only one. It's more likely for the marriage to be fixed if the problem is caused by the woman. 4 options were given. And women have the right to divorce or get a divorce. She's not stuck there. Now let's talk a little about polygamy. Polygamy is a solution to a problem, not an obligation. More than one wife, with the wife's permission, is better than only one wife, plus a girlfriend on the side, behind the wife's back. Polygamy also gives the children of the other woman a decent life, no innocent casualties. Qur'an also says that if the man fears injustice, then he should marry only one. And of course, if the wife doesn't like the situation, she can get a divorce or divorce the husband. Females as mothers. It's an important role in Islam. This is one way a woman can add a contributor to the world. Qur'an gave us examples of mothers such as the mother of Moses, peace be upon him, who was patient and stayed strong when her son was in danger. She accepted God's will and put him in the river only to get him back later. Also, the mother of Mary, she was a religious woman and she made a vow that she would dedicate her child to the service of God. The mother's rights include the right to full financial support from her husband for all her needs as well as her children within the husband's capabilities. She also has the right to work only within her own capabilities. And she has the right to be treated kindly by her children, especially at old age. Females as divorcees. If the husband divorces the woman, he can't take any of her wedding gift or the sadaaq. Also, she doesn't pay the husband alimony. She gets alimony. She has the right to remarry after the divorce. Females as widows. She has the right to a share of the inheritance, the right to get married again if she wants to, and the right not to be part of the man's estate, that she would be inherited by another man along with the dead man's property like it used to be before Islam. So far we find that the woman gets money and she keeps her money and she doesn't have any financial obligations, but she can help if she wants to, and the woman gets a share of the inheritance. Her share in most cases is 1/2 that of the man's share. It would seem inconsistent after the overwhelming evidence of women's equitable treatment and equal reward for equal actions in Islam to assume that inheriting half means that she's equal to 1/2 of the man's value. This variation in inheritance rates is only consistent with the variations in financial responsibilities of man and woman. The man in Islam is fully responsible for the maintenance of his wife, his children, and in some cases of his needy relatives, especially the females. This responsibility is neither waived nor reduced because of the wife's wealth or because of her access to any personal income gained from work, rent, profit, or any other legal means. Women, on the other hand, are far more secure financially and are far less burdened with any claims on their possessions. So a woman's possessions before marriage do not transfer to her husband. She has no obligation to spend on her family out of her properties or out of any income after marriage. She is entitled to the sadaaq, or the wedding gift, which she takes from her husband and keeps. If she's divorced, she doesn't pay her husband alimony. So when she inherits half of the man's share, I call this balance.